get started, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Like and subscribe. So with the Chevy Colorado that I'm working on today, you're going to notice that the fluid is pretty dark. This customer came to me because their transmission wasn't shifting right, or they thought they were having a transmission issue. So during this video, I'll be looking at the transmission fluid. I actually did end up putting a transmission filter in the truck, and then afterwards you'll notice that you're going to see a little bit of a flare shift. That's more towards the end of the video. And what happens with a flare shift is when one clutch engages and another disengages, the RPMs will actually go up because it might not be shifting quickly enough, or could be in this case that after draining the transmission fluid that partly it had a little bit of air left in the system. But if you guys like this kind of content, let me know. I will continue to do this kind of stuff. If you would also like to know what tools I'm using, let me know, and I can even put links to tools and stuff that I'm using while I'm doing the videos. Thank you guys, and enjoy. Alright, today you guys can watch me do a transmission service on 2016 Chevy Colorado with a 4-cylinder 2.5 liter 2-wheel drive. So first off, we're going to get the fill plug out. Use your trim tool here. Pop the, I already got the little button popped out of it here. There we go. All right, so in order to try and not make a mess, there's two things you can do. One, you could use a oil extractor and suck it out of that tube there, or two, you can drain it with the drain plug in the back. However you want to do it is up to you. I prefer to not make a mess, so I'm going to get my fluid extractor. Once I get almost all the fluid out, what I will do is I will pour it into a paint strainer bucket, or a paint bucket. That way I can measure it. Obviously, this truck doesn't look like it has leaked any. So, another thing is I can take a look at the fluid in this bucket, get a good indication of what kind of shape the fluid is in, if there's anything going on with the transmission, vice versa, yada yada. The rest of the fluid here is extracted out. So we're gonna pull this guy up out of there, and then what I'll do is pour this fluid into this paint bucket, take a look at it, see what it looks like. Oh yeah, looks pretty dark. So right there, that's right at 4 liters. Pour this out and check the bottom of this guy and see what it looks like. Oh yeah. Here's the good stuff though. All of that is clutch material. All right, so put our Dextron 6 into the transmission fluid filler. And since I had a different fluid in here before, what I like to do is make sure flush a little bit of that out. So Let a little bit run through. All right, shut that off. Where's the fill hole? All right, fill hole's up there. So, cut it on. We're gonna put 5 quarts in here. So, here is what everybody probably wants to know. So you wanna do a transmission service on your Chevy Colorado. So, you get the parts from your local parts store, and let's say you want to do it the right way and you want to get some good tools. So you might go to a shop and this transmission service might cost you, let's say it cost you $300 or $400 to get it serviced. If it's just a drain and fill, maybe it's only about $200. If it's a filter inside of there, might $300 to $400. Okay, well, you're gonna buy the parts at a higher price than the mechanic shop is, because they get a price that is lower, and then they will mark them up to a lot of times a price that you would buy them at walking in as a consumer, or slightly higher, whatever they need to do in order to make a profit. It's a business, that's what they do. They make profit, or at least they should be. So you buy the parts. Let's say you have Dextron 6 oil filter, or the transmission filter. Let's say you have $150 in parts. Well, now you got to go buy a transmission fluid filler. Well, then that costs you $200 or $300. Then you have to go and buy a scan tool in order to properly read the transmission fluid temperature to properly set the level in the transmission. Well, that can, sometimes you can get one of those for a couple $100, but still, by the time you do all this, you spend, let's say you spend $600 or $700 plus your time doing it. It's going to take you 2 to 3 times longer doing it than it would an actual mechanic, and you still don't have all the knowledge that the mechanic does. So when he takes the pan down, maybe he sees something that you won't recognize that he will. And this is why it's better off if you always like working on your own stuff. That's fine. Go ahead and buy some tools. You can work on your own stuff in the future. But if you just want to do this one job to maybe save yourself some money, you're not going to save yourself money. Go ahead and take it to the mechanic at a good mechanic shop and have them do it. It'll save you the headache, and also probably going to save you some money if you try and buy all this stuff, and time. You're going to spend half your Saturday or half your Sunday trying to do this job, hoping you get it right. So that's my take on it. All right, we are at 86 degrees. And as you can see, it is starting to drip. So that means our transmission fluid is full. We're gonna run this guy in there, tighten it down, and then we're gonna go take a test drive. All right, so we're going to take this thing for a test drive, see how it feels. Check for any torque converter shutters, flare shifts, slips, anything like that. And if we do feel it, then we have the scan tool here. See if we can see what's going on.